Hey guys, welcome to Brickstars. Today we're going to be talking about the Bricklink Designer Program Series 6. And if you're not familiar with this series, this is fan designed sets that go through a crowdfunding process that then gets selected and voted and reviewed, and ultimately 5 sets are selected and made into real Lego sets. So it's a really exciting fan engagement thing that Lego's been doing, and you can see they've gone through a couple different series already, and we're all the way up to Series 6. And in this video, we're going to be taking a guess at which 5 sets from this list we think will get made. So these aren't necessarily our favorite sets or ones that we think look the best or that we're biased and wishing get made. We tried to look at it objectively and see which sets had the highest chance of being made based on the piece count, the build techniques, the theme, the overall design, something that looks like Lego would make, and something that we think would be popular and sell pretty well. So without further ado, let's jump into the 5 that we've selected.
In no particular order, we'll start off with sort of the food truck or the vehicle style builds. As you can see here, we have 2 beautiful vehicles, kind of an old Citroen style truck, and kind of looks like one of those small Japanese style trucks. But what's really neat about this set is it comes with this beautiful tree, kind of like fall time with pumpkins, and then also our lanterns, and then also this bottom base plate. Just such great detail on that front, detail inside as well. This is a pleasing set to look at for sure, but now the reason why we think that this set is going to be sort of one of the things that will be considered when it comes time to it is if we track the past, we've seen things like this snack shack that have come out. This set, we have it, it looks beautiful, and they kind of would flow with that vintage food truck. Now, if we look at this series, we also got this kind of camping style, so they do have that vehicle on a base plate with a tree, just a simple style, and then the popcorn wagon that's coming out in the other one. So we thought that these would kind of tie in, if not visually, but at least topic and theme-wise, and probably also in the price range. So this has 1,000 pieces. We know that the other ones are similar, and these are generally smaller sets that are a little more affordable. And it's always good to have that mixture. You can't have them all be over $300 type thing. Now, what we also looked at that are similar to this vintage food truck style was this one, the container cafe. So we did look at this one and think that this is a beautiful idea and style. Honestly, love the fact that this container is kind of like at an angle. It looks great inside, but we thought that potentially something was just a little lacking in that foreground here where we really did see it in this one. Like, just the level of detail here is phenomenal. And again, we did compare at a couple of these other ones and thought they looked awesome as well. I mean, can't knock anybody. These are all great sets. This one is one that we think would actually potentially fit just as well as the vintage food truck, only for the exception that the Jeep here looks sort of like the Land Rover that was released. So maybe that is the only reason, but we're gonna go with this one by Icy Bricks, the Vintage Food Truck Festival.
Next up, we've got the Viking Fortress by Mocker Mommy. This is an epic looking build. It's honestly one of our favorites, but also one that we think has a realistic shot of being picked. Reason being is there's not a lot of Viking sets that are competing with this set in this series, and Lego recently released the Viking Village without any other Viking sets, so we think this would pair perfectly with that. And the build style looks very familiar to the way Lego does builds, so it's not too detailed on the walls, but the roof, the wood, the stone floors, everything kind of ties in. There's some cool, neat, different almost play features or details, if you will. And we really love this statue inside, so the creator did an awesome job here. We think it looks beautiful and we would love to have this set. We were a little worried that maybe it's a little too detailed, but we have seen designer sets in the past that do feature a lot of detail, so not unrealistic to expect a set like this. I just love this kind of long horn that they have here. And we compared this to some other bigger castle sets and you can see this one's not as detailed. It's more blocky, although still a very cool set if it was made. And then this one was very tough for us to choose. The only reason we didn't pick this one is we thought Lego, having released the Lion Knight's castle, maybe they'd want to stick to more Vikings instead of expanding on the castle line. It's very similar to the Lion Knight's castle in the sense that it's a very big Lion Knight structure. But this is just a beautiful set as well. Like we mentioned earlier, there's a ton of sets in this series that made picking 5 very difficult. So we spent a lot of time reviewing these in detail and trying to figure out which 5 we think would get picked.
The Forest Merchants by Hanwaz is a beautiful looking set. It's almost kind of like a medieval forestman style thing. You can see the villagers. It's obviously set back in a different time, and what's really cool about this set is it uses a similar roof technique that you saw in the Lord of the Rings sets, and it actually, for me, reminds me of Hobbiton. It reminds me of the Hobbit houses, the circular windows, and kind of the tree growing through it. So this is one of those sets that just has that curb appeal. The colors pop. Right away you can see that it's like a really vibrant village. We got the well, we got the little farmer and the fruits in front, and inside the details don't stop. Inside you could see that they have kind of a little shop area. They have a place where they're making food, and here they're kind of selling things. So overall it's a beautiful set. It's just under 2,000 pieces, which would make it priced in that middle price range. And again, the curb appeal, the colors, the style, the size, it just looks really polished and really nice. Now, one thing that I will say is that it seems that there's a decent amount of animals, so maybe Lego would want to drop that number down a little bit. But we did look at this set as a comparison, which is just epic looking. It looks to be twice as big. It has almost 4,000 pieces. So this one just looks amazing. It's huge. And we love it. The spiral staircase, the details inside the rooms here. Each one of these looks like its own standalone house, which is crazy to think. So it's a great looking set. But one of the things that we considered was where the price range would go and how they would kind of market these things. So while this one does look beautiful, we do think that the Forest Merchants would stand a bit of a better chance of being bought because it wouldn't be nearly as expensive. And then we looked at other sets like this, which are kind of similar. It uses the same villager type vibes. But what we found here in something like this is this whole wall would be quite repetitive. It would take up a bunch of bricks, maybe 300 pieces, and you just be stacking and stacking. So that probably we don't really see has much appeal to people. And this one, while a beautiful build, very reminiscent of Hagrid's house to me, compared to the Forest Merchants, this one does seem a little more simple, but it has some really redeeming factors actually, which we love. The sunflowers, the cauliflower, kind of the garden in this area, that this set would also be pretty sick to get. This one here has the little details inside, so it's very cramped quarters, but very reminiscent of what you'd expect to find kind of in a medieval house. But this is the one we're going with just because of that curb appeal, the style, the overall way it's polished, and we think this would be a great addition.
Now we're going to look at the Outlaw Forest Den by Lego Brickhammer. What a beautiful build, obviously capitalizing on the fact that the wolf pack is back, and you're going to see we've gone through a lot of wolf pack sets. That's because there was a lot of wolf pack sets submitted as part of this series. So clearly people want to see the wolf pack, they want to see them return, and we think this would be the way to do it. So you get a lot of minifigures here. They're all different, the torsos, the shields. This is obviously a throwback to one of the original Lego castle sets, almost like the smuggler's cart. And beautiful building techniques, very reminiscent of what Lego would do. Nice size set, not overly complicated with different details, but just the perfect amount, we think. I love this interior detail with the kegs and the board, some cheese, flags throughout. So really cool looking set. And you can see it's got about 2,500 parts. So this is something that would probably be priced in the $300 range, which seems pretty common for designer program sets recently. Some cool play features as well here with the drawbridge, and if you know the wolf pack, you know the original set that they came out with was a bridge crossing. So we like that reference there. You can see here there's some movement there. Obviously the Black Tower, all very reminiscent and fitting with the original Wolfpack theme, and ties in beautifully with existing Lego castle sets of today. So also by Lego Brickhammer, he made a very similar one. This one we also thought was absolutely amazing, and honestly we kept going back and forth, which one do we think would get made. For some reason the other one stood out to us. I think it was the base plates were a bit more refined, but man, how awesome it would be to get both of these, because this one truly is like the original Wolfpack crossing. So great looking set, but we gave the other one the edge. And then looking at a couple other designs, again, all of these are amazing. What a detailed build. Very cool, kind of like lava flowing, very evil looking, which I think the Wolfpack are meant to be kind of the bad guys in the Lego castle world. Lots of details in this one. Nice color balance. Every time you're working with all gray, it's tough to kind of break that up, but they did a great job here with these details, and very sinister looking. So almost Fright Nights-ish, and that's kind of why we passed on this one. We prefer to see it more in the original Wolfpack design. This one also a little too forced mini for us. A beautiful set, but nothing really prevents this from being a Forestman set. They kind of have this cool eagle thing here. I know they can't use the eagle piece. It would have been nice if Lego could bring back the eagle mold from the Lord of the Rings sets, but a cool concept how it kind of has the nest here where the eagle brings things in. And we do like this camp here as well, but again, just a set that didn't scream Wolfpack to us, because we think it could easily be a Forestman set, but a beautiful build nonetheless. Next up is the Renegades of the Old Castle. Very nice size, so this one's under 2,000 pieces. Kind of gives us that classic Lego castle style when they used raised base plates, but a lot of similar parts. We think these type of sets are tougher to make it through because you have a lot of these similar pieces that maybe aren't the most popular thing that Lego releases, but really cool looking set, and wouldn't have any complaints if this got built as well or got chosen. You can see they can hide the treasure there, and you do get a Lion Knight as well. Next up we have the Ruffian Stronghold. This is very reminiscent of classic Lego sets, more of the Black Knights theme, also Royal Lion Knights with kind of this roof architecture here, but we do like the flag techniques that they've done here, kind of these brick built flags and probably what would end up being a sticker piece. We just thought that the Wolfpack are more of kind of an outpost crossing type faction, not a faction that would necessarily have kind of a complete castle like this, but very cool looking build nonetheless. And then we have the Wolf of the Swamp. This was one that, from watching other YouTube videos, we've seen people seem to love this one, and we do as well. We just think it's a little too different for what we think Lego would make. Lots of cool building techniques, but just something about it is almost too different from what we've seen in the past, and maybe Lego does go that way and kind of tries to change things up a bit, but very interesting build, like almost too magical in a way. Like the Wolfpack we really see as kind of forest dwelling renegades of sorts. This is almost something that like an evil wizard would have a layer like this. So again, amazing build, just not something that we see the Wolfpack having, which brings us back to this one, the one we've chosen, and this is a personal favorite that we'd love to see get chosen.
The Ice Fishing Shack by Archie Bricks is one of those sets that we looked at and we thought immediately this one has some really redeeming features. Now, being from Canada, we immediately took to the moose and to certain elements of this set, but what we found really sweet here is the size. It's not an overly large set. It's just under 900 pieces. And what's good about that is it would fit into a nice price range, kind of like the other one we talked about with the food trucks, that bit lower price range, but what would still have is a great build and lots of detail. The way the snow kind of comes off the roof here, the way the windows are frosted up, the ice fishing part itself, the moose looks great. The snowmobile has an interesting build technique, and it has that sort of style that you could look at and you could think that this actually fits in really nicely with some of the previous themes that we'd get, especially when it comes to the Christmas series or the holiday series that we get. Now inside, the building doesn't stop with the beauty. It's very simplistic and utilitarian, but in that is very detailed, because these buildings are not very large. They're very utilitarian. They're only used during the winter. Sometimes they are even collapsible or you tow them away. So it kind of makes use of that, and it has what looks like a nice warm furnace to keep you warm at night. And then of course the moose and the snowmobile. So a really neat set. Overall, one of my favorites, maybe just for the sense of being so compact and small, and I could already start to think about the Brickstars style photos that could be taken with something like this. Now what we did is compare this one to this other one, which is a backyard snow fort. This is another kind of winter themed one, and while we think something like this does look great, it's a bit bigger and it has a decent amount of repetition here. So we did ultimately go with the ice fishing shack, and this is one that actually really stood out just because it actually fits in really nicely with the holiday series that LEGO releases every year. But for that reason, we also think that there's probably not a chance of something like this, just because they have their own series and their own lineups. So it may kind of start to blend the lines and kind of mix between the things. So we didn't go with this one. We went with the ice fishing shack. This one would be a great addition. And again, it has that curb appeal, the size and the style that we think LEGO likes when they release these type of sets.
So there are the 5 that we've chosen. Again, keeping in mind that we didn't think a lot of modular style sets would get chosen because, of course, LEGO has their modular lineup or their Christmas Village lineup. But these sets look refined, they look well built, they're interesting, they're different. In regards to the ice fishing shack, we haven't really seen things quite like this. And nice size. The merchants, the forest merchants, this one's got a little bit of everything, some fantasy, some medieval, village life, very cool colors. We think that's a slam dunk. Obviously, the Wolfpack seems to be a fan favorite, so I think it'd be silly for LEGO not to do the Wolfpack. And it seems like we're not getting a castle wave, but LEGO knows how popular castle sets are, so they're kind of giving us bits and pieces through special anniversary sets or through the designer program. Of course, Vikings, always good to get some more of those. This set looks very cool. And then the Vintage Food Truck Festival, very cool concept. LEGO's released a couple food trucks of their own, so this one would probably sell really well as people kind of want to build a nice big display with their other food trucks or incentivize them to buy those food trucks as well. So overall, like we said, this wave was absolutely crazy. So many great builds. Shout out to all the builders who had their designs submitted and made it this far. And it was really a challenge choosing these builds. So let us know in the comments below what you think. How close are we going to be? And we'll look back in a couple months and see how close we ended up getting. So thank you guys for watching, and we'll see you next time.